Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Fuck Fine, where we believe in living life absolutely unapologetically and on our own terms. Those of you who don't know me, my name's Kari Hurd. I'm your host. Welcome, welcome. It was a Monday. I had worked all day. I had a PT appointment on the books for the afternoon and then plans with my cousin after that. And then later in the evening, I had an appointment to go look at a potential new car because the week before, my car got totaled because someone backed into it. Work had already been shaky at best for the last couple of weeks with a bunch of shit going on. And then at 3 o'clock, I got called into one of our upper management's offices and was told that my last day would be that Friday. I was absolutely stunned, but I kept going that day. I went to all my appointments. I hung out with my cousin, and I actually even ended up buying the frickin' car that I hadn't really planned on driving home that night. By the time I got home, it was 9:30 or so. I had spent the rest of the night, I was up about half the night, just kind of throwing up from nerves and adrenaline and whatever. And I have to say, I've been through a lot of shit in my day. This was without a doubt one of the top 5 most chaotic days in my life, right? And to say that nothing about it looked or felt like peace is an understatement. Like in the moment, it was all chaos. And yet, that chaotic day kicked off one of the most peaceful seasons I've ever had. I used to pray so hard for peace. And when I started even on my sort of spiritual personal development journey, part of my mantra was that I wanted a simple, effortless life full of joy. Like peace was the priority. It was part of my mantra. In my head, like I said, I would pray so hard for it, just almost begging. And we know how that goes. But in my head, peace always looked pretty, I guess, for lack of a better word, right? It meant spa days and candles and baths and meditation and most importantly, calm. I was praying for this just myth, really, of pretty peace. Because that's what I thought it was, right? Because that's what we're sold, right? That peace and self-care are these sort of constant, picture-perfect states of Zen, right? Like, in order to have a peaceful life, you've got to be this sort of floating through life as like this yogi who's just in this constant state of, perpetual peace and never gets rattled and never has chaos. And, it's just this sort of blissful existence. And that peace only exists in the absence of chaos, right? That pretty peace exists only when there's no chaos to be had. And let's be honest, life is full of chaos, period, right? Because the truth is, peace comes through the fire of it all, right? Not in spite of it. Like, it's not like we either have peace or we have chaos. It's more like you have these moments of chaos and then the peace is sort of on the other side of it, right? Like letting the steam out of a pressure cooker, right? Because in my experience, we tolerate situations for so long that it's like building up this pressure. And we're trying so hard in that to keep this equilibrium, right? We're trying not to rock the boat. And then all of a sudden, it's like, boom, like the lid's blown off, and we are tossed into absolute chaos. Everything just explodes into this just chaotic frenzy. And then, strangely enough, that's somehow when the real peace shows up. And it's hard to explain, because if you're picturing in your mind this super chaotic experience, it's really hard to like identify that there was any peace in there. But I think if you really tap into it and think back, when those moments happen, like that Monday, like I said, absolute chaos. I was literally sick to my stomach just from the adrenaline and the craziness of all of it. And yet, deep down inside, there was this sense of relief. Like, okay, everything's resolved, right? It's super chaotic right now, but really, all this pressure that's been building up is just resolved. Like, right? I don't know. So just some examples, okay? Crying on the floor, right? We all know that sort of cathartic cry, that one, whether you're sitting down on a rainy Saturday and binging, sad movies and chick flicks just to sort of initiate that cry, or you're just so overwhelmed with everything that you're on the floor ugly crying, and you finally just like let it all go. Just let it all go. Peace often, not always, often shows up in that very surrender, right? Like, my girlfriends and I have all said it, right? Like I said, you're crying on the floor, and when you're all done, there's just like this exhaustion that hits, and yet there's an odd calm about it when you're done, right? Because even if nothing about your situation is fixed, the release, just that physical release, removes all of that negative energy that's been building up. And in the middle of your swollen eyes and your snotty tissues, there's this strange, quiet kind of peace. The second comes in guilt and pushback and second guessing. Let me talk about that one because it's going to sound weird. Almost 9 months ago, I went no contact with a family member. And let me tell you, almost every single day since then, I questioned myself about whether I did the right thing, if I should open the door to conversation, and I feel guilty about what it means for the rest of my family. That's my guilt to carry. That's not theirs. That's mine. But on the outside, a lot of people would say it doesn't look or feel like peace. I get that. But deep down, for me, it is. Because every day that I don't engage in that chaos and I make that choice for peace, even if it hurts, right? Like, there's just, again, this sense of, I think sometimes the chaos comes, like I said earlier, that pressure cooker of like, we're not taking action. We're just trying to maintain the status quo and keep everything steady and have this sort of perception of calm and peace. Like I said, that pretty peace where everything's just easygoing, flowing, whatever. When underneath there's all these things building, all these tensions, all these energies building. And it's like that chaos is the moment you need to resolve all the things that you've been sort of stewing on and all the things that have been simmering under the surface. You need that chaos to release all of that in order to experience the peace. The third way, at least that I've experienced this, was, like when you lose somebody and it's really hard to let go, and grieving a situation that can't come with you or a person that can't come with you, right? And going through that grief. When my ex and I broke up, we stayed friends for way too long. Way too long. No shame. I'm glad we were able to stay friends. But there was a part of me, because we stayed in contact and because we stayed friends, there was a part of me that was just always hoping, right? Maybe someday, maybe someday, maybe someday. And then one day, I just blocked him. No explanation to him, no explanation to anybody, no closure, no big conversation about closure. And do I still think about him? Yeah. Does it still hurt? Yeah. Sometimes I wonder, like, should I have had the big conversation? It's not that these moments of chaos obviously are easy. They're not. But if you really, like I said before, dig deep, there's a sense of feeling settled, right? My heart now is settled. I am no longer living in this constant state of what if. So again, it might not look peaceful when you describe it. When you put it on paper, it might not sound peaceful. It might, in the moment, feel like chaos. But deep down, there's a sense, like I said, that it has relieved the pressure. So I'm going to ask you, like, I would love for you to pipe in on the conversation. When have you experienced a moment of peace that didn't look peaceful? A moment of chaos that actually had peace in it? Think about that, because peace isn't about comfort. And I think that that's where the disconnect is. A lot of us think that if we're living in peace, again, it's that flow and that calm and that steady. That's not peace. Peace is about alignment. And sometimes in order to get that alignment, it requires this breaking of patterns, cutting the ties, sitting in the mess. Like I said, letting whatever that is underneath that's simmering, letting that out. Choosing ugly peace now, right? That's what I call it, ugly peace, where I'm going through something really ugly, but I know it's bringing me peace. If I choose a little bit of ugly peace now, it's going to prevent bigger chaos later. And I think that's the key, and that's why all of this matters, and that's the whole point of this episode, right? It's like pulling weeds, for all my gardeners out there, pulling weeds before they choke out your whole garden. When you lean into the ugly piece, even when it hurts, it proves that you're living intentionally and not defaulting to patterns that don't serve you. You're not defaulting to what you should or what you've always done or who you used to be. You're showing yourself that you'd rather face a hard truth than live in a soft lie. Hear that again. You're showing yourself that you'd rather face a hard truth than live in a soft lie. I heard that term soft lie and I was absolutely floored. Like, that is the best description of it. When you are settling for all of those things that keep everything on an even keel, even if they're not serving you, when you're settling for those, you're living a soft lie. So can we do this? Can we normalize that if peace feels ugly in your life right now, that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong? If I would have nipped some things in the bud earlier at work, if I wouldn't have let things, if I would have faced some of the small ugly truths early on, instead of living the soft lies, things may not have ended the way they did. Right? So again, we're going to normalize letting ugly peace in your life, because it doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're probably finally doing it right. Peace isn't about keeping it calm and pretty on the surface. It's about building something solid underneath. It isn't picture perfect moments. It's the foundation of what lets you live unapologetically and authentically and free. Let that sink in. It's the foundation that lets you live unapologetically, authentically, and free. I'm going to challenge you to go discover the ugly peace that you've had, those moments of chaos where there was peace underneath. Start identifying those. Because it gives you knowledge so that you recognize it in the future. B, it'll help you sort of understand what I'm talking about a little bit. And then the second thing I want to challenge you to do this week is stir up a little chaos. Stop allowing the soft lies. Stir up a little chaos so that you can find peace. Because that is my wish for you, my friends. Thank you so much for listening. If this resonated with you, I would love to hear from you. Drop a comment below if you're on Substack. Share this out to a friend if you think it would resonate with them. I would love the support that way. And also just to get the message out there, because I think we all deserve the right to find our version of peace. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next episode.